So these Epstein files, these emails, they're being released, and they're really enlightening, and they really illuminate for us how power works. So I will give a structural overview of what these emails reveal to us. Okay, the first thing it reveals to us is that all these people in power, the elite, they're all friends with each other. So in public, the Democrats and Republicans, they can be fighting each other, but in reality, they go to the same schools, they go to the same parties, they're just friends with each other. So what you're seeing in public, the sort of like political struggle in public, it's all just fake. It's like wrestling. It's reality TV. The elite are all friends with each other. That's the first thing. Second thing that we've noticed about the emails is how cavalier the elite are. They think that they're above everyone else. They think they're untouchable. So they just speak their minds freely. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein, he was using Gmail in order to make all these sensitive communications. There was absolutely no operational security. He didn't really care because he believed he was untouchable. And that's how the elite think and behave. They live in a bubble. They think that they control the world, and they're untouchable. So they can do whatever they want. And all that matters is staying within this bubble, staying close to each other. The third thing I will say is that these emails don't tell us, but we can assume that there are many layers of networking among the elite. So Jeffrey Epstein, why was he so popular among the elite? Well, I mean, first of all, he was just a friendly guy who did a lot of networking and was able to bring the elite together. But if you go to Epstein Island, you will find that there's a temple there that's almost designed for ritual sacrifice. So what I've researched and what I've discovered is that the way that the elite stay together is through rituals, secret society rituals. Why? Because at the end of the day, if you're part of the elite, your biggest problem is trust. How can you trust that person to not rat you out in this political struggle? And the answer is, well, you blackmail each other, right? So you do acts together that would be considered taboo, including sex with underage children. I mean, there are lots of transgressions that you can do, and the more transgressions you do, the more cohesive the elite is. So, unfortunately, if you dig deeper into Jeffrey Epstein, what you'll find is a lot of um, um, transgressions, both sexual and violent as well, breaking these social taboos. I mean, like the public. I mean, like what's really astonishing about the Jeffrey Epstein case is that slowly the inner workings of the elite are being revealed to the public, and all these conspiracy theories that we once believed couldn't possibly be true, including that the entire American elite are just a bunch of pedophiles. I mean, they're slowly turning out to be true, and this marks a radical turning point in American history.
Yeah, great point. And to that end, in terms of how flippant all of this is, and there is this email that's been the most recent emails that have been going around. What is so incredible about them is that the more that they are released in this weaponized way, the more we find out. And here is one between Epstein and between Epstein's brother Mark and him, talking, how are you doing? This is what they're saying. How are you doing? What is your boy Donald up to now? Referring to Donald Trump. Mark Epstein says, all good. Bannon is with me. So Steve Bannon. Then Mark says, ask him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. And I thought I had Surus. That's what Jeffrey Epstein said. What that means? That's a Yiddish word for trouble. You and your boy Donnie can make a remake of the movie Get Hard. This is how they're talking to each other on an unsecure server, Professor Jiang, talking about Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. I mean, this is shocking a lot of people, but maybe you can reiterate or reinforce or elaborate on kind of what this really reveals about all of this? What's going on here? Because what I see is a dying American empire kind of just being exposed without real, not by journalists, not by people doing the work, but by themselves.
Well, I mean, we also have to remember that Jeffrey Epstein, in his Manhattan penthouse, there's a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress, in drag, basically. So one possible interpretation is that all these politicians that we think are our representatives, they're all just the playthings of the elite. They're just puppets of the elite. They're just paid actors. They're literally paid actors. And so American democracy has always been a lie. And so Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, they just do the bidding of the powerful. And the powerful are, in their parties, secret parties, laughing at us, mocking us, because they've been able to deceive us. And we every day are fighting over these petty politics that has absolutely nothing to do with real power. So I think that what these Epstein emails reveals is the deep contempt that the elite has for the people. And these politicians are nothing more than just these puppets that the elite display in front of us in order to distract us. Everything's being curated by the powerful. And so what we see in Washington D.C. has never been more than a reality TV show.
Yeah, great points, Professor Jiang. And it goes deeper than this, because I think one of the things that is left out of this conversation has been, we're going to be touching this a lot throughout the program, Israel, because we have to remember this was a limited release by the House Oversight Committee, by the U.S. government itself, a major, I guess, a slight Democratic Party majority. So really, it was a partisan thing, despite how much the emails really showed. But I want to pull up what emails are not being emphasized, and I want to pull up this one in particular, talking about how Epstein was effectively drafting foreign policy messaging for former Israeli PM Ehud Barak, who many believe was really instrumental in the Epstein they had a very close relationship. I would use the opportunity, says Jeffrey Epstein, to compare it with Iran, talking about Syria. The solutions become more complex at the time I see. I think many people would like your views on Egypt, Syria, etc., Russia's role. I think you might point out that gassing of women and children is an expression of the 20th century. Women are no longer equivalent. Children, civilians versus combatants only. Literally giving advice, Professor Jiang, on how Jeffrey Epstein giving advice on how Israel should paint its U.S. foreign policy. I mean, talk about this. I think this really blows open the realities of these relationships and how it gets all the way to the level of empire.
Yeah, so the first thing we need to understand is that power always consolidates and coalesces. And what I mean by that is that these intelligence agencies, Mossad, CIA, MI6, they're all interlocked together. They're all in alliance together. That's the first thing. Second thing is that these intelligence agencies are also in alliance with different secret societies as well as criminal organizations. So from the perspective of people like someone like Jeffrey Epstein, he's the real power in the world. And that's why he thinks that he can dictate foreign policy to everyone. Okay, so I don't think Jeffrey Epstein was actually a spy. I think Ghislaine Maxwell, his girlfriend, was actually the spy. And one good piece of evidence for that is that Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, was a notorious spy. And he was working for Mossad, MI6, as well as Russian intelligence, the KGB. So that's how the powerful works. The powerful are almost like a nexus of all these intelligence agencies, foreign governments, secret societies, and criminal organizations. And so they discuss amongst themselves how to best frame issues and how to best push events. So, from the perspective, if you look at more and more of Jeffrey Epstein's emails, what you would discover is that he was privy to a lot of geopolitical events, and in fact, he was actually helping to plan a lot of geopolitical events as well.
Yeah, and let's go dive more deeply now into some of these power players that were revealed to be not to be very close to Jeffrey Epstein, where he was literally talking about them with Kathy Rumiere, who is Obama's on Obama's legal counsel, White House counsel. He says, girls, when talking to her, careful, I will renew an old habit. Mind you, she says, you might get sick of me, just sat down on this train. You're not managing anything, your time well enough. It's UN General Assembly week. He says this week, Peter Thiel, Larry Summers, William Burns, former CIA director, Gordon Brown, a former UK Prime Minister, Jagland, who is a Nobel Peace Prize chairman, was Mongolian president. He's just naming people, Boris Gates, Bill Gates, everyone who he has contacts with, who he meets with, and says, I might pick up, I might renew an old habit. Just your response before we move on.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, it's obvious that everyone in power, they're friends with each other. They know each other. So this sort of like struggle between nation states. It's all just a curated media show for us. It's not. It's actually real. What goes on behind the scenes is that these powerful people are all friends. Okay, so even though there's wars going on between Russia and Ukraine, guess what? The elite of Ukraine and Russia are all friends. Guess what? The elite of Europe and Russia and Ukraine and America, they're all friends. They go to the same parties. Their children go to the same schools. They're probably intermarried with each other. So that's really how the world works. And as more and more of these Epstein files are released, the more and more we will discover that the elite is all interconnected. They're just playing us for fools. That, I think, is the ultimate message of these file release.
Yeah. And Professor Jiang, in your works, you have called America, where while Jeffrey Epstein seemingly was working for Israel, he was working within the United States and tugging on all of the most powerful people, to the point where he was, I mean, a lot of people have been bringing this up. He had all of this dirt on Donald Trump, and then he ended up dead. Could you talk about the given that we know Jeffrey Epstein was a major player in driving U.S. foreign policy, was majorly connected, and was likely conducting some kind of what seemed like a blackmail operation. Talk about why. Why is this necessary from the point of view of the power elite, those who are ruling over this empire? Because we have major connections to Israel, major connections to this decaying American empire that now Donald Trump is looking like the kind of the leader that's falling on the sword, so to speak, that he is being absolutely he is being dragged almost as the antichrist figure in all of this.
Yeah. So the first thing to note is that Jeffrey Epstein is not unique. You go to any major American city, I guarantee you there is a Jeffrey Epstein-like figure coordinating among the city's different politicians, celebrities, mafia organizations, secret societies. Okay, so Jeffrey Epstein is a very common character in today's world. Now, why is that the case? Well, okay, so let's look at today's world, and I will highlight three structural issues with today's world. Okay, the first major problem with today's world is the atomization of society, meaning that we focus on the individual, whereas before in previous societies we focus on the family, the tribe, the clan. But nowadays we've all been atomized, we've all been individualized. That diminishes our capacity to work together for the pursuit of certain political ends. Okay, that's the first major problem in today's world. Second major problem in today's world is globalization, multiculturalism, transnationalism. So people's sense of ethnic identity has been dampened. It's been diluted, and so people are less willing to work for a cultural cohesive cause. Okay, that's the second major problem. The third major problem, which is the most major problem, is the bureaucratization of society. You look at the growth of the federal government in Washington, D.C. Then you look at the growth of the EU superstate in Europe. So our lives have become more and more bureaucratic. The problem with this is that bureaucracies are indifferent. They're aloof. They're compartmentalized. Okay, so all these different departments are siloed off, and they cannot coordinate together. So in today's society, you have a problem of coordination. How do you get groups to work together? Well, you get them to work together mainly for secret societies. And because secret societies solve three major problems that would benefit the members in today's society. The first is secrecy, second is trust, and the third is coordination. Okay, so secrecy, because you don't want to be discovered. If you are discovered, people would think that you're cheating in this game, and then you would be outlawed, you'd be persecuted. Trust is, how do you trust members of your society not to rat you out? And the third is, how do you work together for a common cause, coordination? And the solution to all three problems is, of course, blackmail. So you need someone like Jeffrey Epstein, and there are lots of people like Jeffrey Epstein, to help the elite coalesce together through blackmail by engaging in acts of transgression, whether it's ritual sexual abuse of children, which is very common. But look, there are actually even worse forms of transgression. I'm not going to go into them because they are disgusting and vile. But we've all heard rumors of this transgression. So that's why we have blackmail today. That's why someone like Jeffrey Epstein is everywhere in society. And that's why we need someone like Jeffrey Epstein, because the only way for the elite to work together is through blackmail. Otherwise, they don't trust each other. Otherwise, they'll go to war with each other. So something I will say with regard to Donald Trump is that people forget that Trump's first mentor and his most influential teacher was actually Ray Cohn. Okay, if you look at Ray Cohn, if you look at history, he was actually the original Jeffrey Epstein. He was part of the Washington gay mafia, and he specialized in blackmailing politicians. He was very good friends with J. Edgar Hoover. They went to each other's parties where they engaged in all these sort of like homosexual endeavors, and they had pictures of each other. So Roy Cohn was the original Jeffrey Epstein, and he was the mentor of Donald Trump. So what did Donald Trump learn from Roy Cohn? He learned how to blackmail other people, but most importantly, and this is really important for us to understand, is he learned how to avoid being blackmailed. So another thing that I will say about Donald Trump is that he's a teetotaler. He does not drink. This is really weird because we've known him as a playboy ever since the 1980s, and he's always dating these beautiful women. He's always throwing these lavish parties. He's always hanging out with the most famous, the most wealthy, and he himself, even though he's organizing his parties, does not touch alcohol or drugs. Why? Because he learned from Roy Cohn. That's how they get you. Okay. The worst thing that can happen to you is blackmail. So I guarantee you, these emails that are coming out, there's no dirt on this guy. If there was any dirt on this guy, Donald Trump, we would have seen it in 2016 or 2020 when the elite spent $6 billion to get rid of Donald Trump. Okay? So I'm telling you right now, there's absolutely no blackmail on Donald Trump. I'm also telling you that blackmail is just a way of life among the powerful.